What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I'm your host. I'm Caitlin Kenneth Smith. And on today's episode of the podcast, I have an incredible conversation with my friend, Hidden Summit coach, and First Form sponsor trainer, Brooke. We get into her journey from being an athlete growing up to going to college and feeling pressured to party and drink just to fit in, to then becoming a mother, working in the hospital, and realizing that she wanted to have the freedom to be with her daughter and truly raise her, to finding a community with CrossFit, becoming an online coach, and now being in a position to build the life that she's always wanted to, dealing with the emotional roller coaster now of having a debilitating shoulder injury and a second pregnancy. There's a lot going on in this episode, and there's so much value. Brooke's Instagram is down below in the show notes, so make sure you give her a follow and keep up with her journey and see all of the value that she's putting out and sharing with you guys. And enjoy this episode. Make sure you share it. And thank you guys for always watching and listening. All right, so on today's podcast, I have my friend Brooke. And Brooke, actually, I'm going to have to ask you because whenever I say Brooke, like Coach Brooke at Hidden Summit, I'm like, Coach Brooke, because I just go off your Instagram name. So how do you pronounce your last name?
It's actually Wiitanen. So it's Finnish. And they used to, back in the day, pronounce it Wiitanen. So
okay. See, that makes more sense. So the way that I'm going to remember that now is because it sounds kind of similar to wheat thins. So don't.
Yeah, that's so funny you say that because my husband played rugby in high school and college, and that was his nickname, Wheat Thins.
I mean, that makes sense. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to remember it as. So just remember that for moving forward. Every time I think of you, I'm going to think of wheat thins now.
Yes, I like it.
So I kind of gave a brief intro on who you are, Brooke, like Hidden Summit coach, First Form sponsored trainer. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're currently pregnant with your second child, coming off of the first trimester. But who are you? What, if you were to tell somebody like who you are in like a couple sentences, what would you say?
I would say, the first thing that comes to mind now is mom. I feel like that's like my identity now. Like that's always number one priority. But I would also say, just like I love helping others and being active. Like that's what I love to do. And so it's nice I'm able to have a career that allows me to do that all the time, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember when we were in Arizona, I think that's a great example. That's where I really saw like how passionate of a mother that you were, because you were away from Gianna for it was like maybe 24 hours at that point. You're like, I just want to get home. I love being here with you guys, but I also I just miss my baby,
Yes. Yeah. It's so hard.
Yeah. But I think that's such a great point too, because here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand that you're a mom, right? And you're also currently pregnant, but you're currently still, from what I see, on your nutrition, working out to the best of your abilities based on the nausea and stuff that you're dealing with in the
right.
But you've stayed committed to your goals, and you even went to a pretty damn good cut for the Hidden Summit retreat, still being a mom and still having all of this on your plate. So we'll definitely get into that. But really, I wanted to start off with Brooke, how did you get into fitness in the first place? Because I think that's such a great story for most people.
Yeah. So it's kind of a long story. I feel like I've always been into fitness, but I sort of lost my way for a little while.
Did you start off were you always an athlete as a kid kind of thing?
Yeah, so I played field hockey, since the 7th grade, all through high school. I played a little bit of club in college, but I would say college is where I lost my way. I I would work out every once in a while, but that did not counterbalance the amount of drinking and bad food I was eating. So
that's just such a big thing that happens with people who were an athlete their whole life. They kind of get used to the lifestyle of being an athlete, eating like an athlete, and being okay with I can get away with eating shit a little bit. Plus you're a kid, so you can get away with it a little bit more. And then you get into college and maybe you're not as active. And then, there's the temptation of drinking a lot, going out with friends. So kind of talk about how you kind of got into that, as well as how that made an impact on where you are now.
Yeah, so I think really, like, I don't know, honestly, like, my childhood was great, like, high school
Yeah.
was great, but I also felt like I was never like a cool kid, which I didn't care about that, but I think I just had maybe social anxiety that I kinda didn't realize, and I was masking it a lot with the drinking because I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm so much more fun when I drink." No,
Yeah.
I was just, like, sloppy and not cool, but
A lot of people
so
get caught up in that too. It's like you think you almost have to drink in order to fit in.
Mhm.
'Cause I know that like
Oh,
for
yeah.
me, I was always the kid who like didn't want to drink because I saw like what it had done to my family. And I'm like, I don't want to be
Right.
involved in that. And when I would go out like with friends or something, I'd feel like almost pressured that I had to drink or I was
Yeah.
just like, looked down upon.
For sure. Yeah, oh, it's such, like, the peer pressure aspect of it, for
Mm.
sure. Like, I was like, "If I'm going out, I have to drink," kinda thing, and
Mhm.
now I'm so happy I realized that you can still have fun being sober.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny how that changes, like, as you get older, even, like, going back to, like, I was never the cool kid in high school. It's like, when you look back on it, you think about high school, and I was having a conversation with one of my clients about this yesterday, I
Mhm.
think, where, like, you're so, like, upset and focused on, like, what other people think about you in high school, and then you look back, like, now as we're
Yeah.
older, and like, "Why the fuck did we care so much? It didn't
Oh, I
even
know.
matter."
Yeah. Like, who cares? Yeah.
Let's
That
be
was, like,
honest.
such a small part of your life, like, no,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Plus, like, I feel like a lot of the cool kids back in high school, they're probably, like, the ones who are sitting in the bar right now talking about how they were captain of the football team when they were in college or high school, and you're actually
Exactly.
out there being successful and doing life.
Right, yeah, for sure.
So, coming out of that, like, you were in college and you were drinking a little bit too much, eating a little bit too much bad food, you lost your way with
Yeah.
fitness. How did you
Mhm.
find it back? Like, did you have one of those moments where, "Okay, I gotta get my shit together?"
So, yeah, I sorta did. My husband and I dated in college, and then for a few years after college, we both lived in Ohio, but he was in Cleveland, I was in Columbus, and then
Mhm.
we're like, "Let's figure this out. Are we gonna be together? Are we not?" kinda thing. He ended up getting a job in St. Louis, and
Okay.
so we both moved there. We lived there for a couple years. I did start getting into fitness then, back into fitness, but we were still, like, partying on the weekends a lot.
Right.
So it wasn't until we moved to Arizona, actually. We moved to this small town in Arizona and knew no one. We knew one couple, that was it. And, I was like, "I gotta find a way to meet some friends, like, or I'm
Right.
gonna be, like, depressed," you know? So and that was back when, like that was 10 years ago, so, like, social media wasn't, like, super big yet, like, the online community wasn't that big yet.
Yeah.
So they ended up having a CrossFit gym. It was so small at the time, but, like,
That's
that
wild how,
time
like, a small town has a CrossFit gym because the
Yeah,
amount of people who I coach who I'm like, "You should go to a CrossFit gym," and they're like, "Here's the closest CrossFit gym." It's like 2 hours from them, and I'm like, "How?"
I know, it's crazy, but that seriously, like, saved me. So
Yeah.
I, like, immediately was addicted. I found a bunch of friends that were my age, and I w I didn't realize I guess I was competitive in high school, but I was like, "Wow, I'm actually really competitive," and, like, wanted to kind of, like, be good at it. So,
Yeah.
that was definitely a turning point for me, for sure.
Yeah. CrossFit is super addictive, and I feel like the CrossFit
It is.
community is probably the best part about it. I mean, we talk about community a lot because Hidden
Mhm,
Summit is such a great community, but, like, I feel like so many people have this bad taste in their mouth with CrossFit because I know for me, like, when I was, like, first getting into my fitness journey, I would look at CrossFit because I was, like, a bodybuilder. I'd look at
mhm.
CrossFit and be like, "They're not even doing real reps. They're like it's
Yeah,
all bullshit. They're just, like, doing nothing." But then you
for sure.
actually get into CrossFit and you see, like, no, there's purpose behind everything, and, like, you don't know what you don't know kinda thing.
That is so true. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
Because I see people even on social media where, like, I'll see, like, a CrossFit athlete doing, like, chest to bar pull-ups and doing, like, butterfly pull-ups, and somebody in the comments, like, "And not 1 rep was counted." And I was like, "You're an
Yeah,
idiot. There's a different purpose." Like, if you're doing that much
totally.
volume plus kipping isn't easy. I'm
I know,
sorry, but
that's
it's
what I was
not.
just gonna say, like, that is hard, and it takes a lot of energy to
Oh
do
my
all that.
gosh, yes. Like, I'm still, like, really getting used to, like, the gymnastics side of things. That's, like, one of my
Mhm.
weakest points. Kipping is fucking hard. So, like, if you're
It is.
somebody who's on the internet typing out to a CrossFit athlete, like, hey, that wasn't a rep. I want
Yeah.
to see you do a kipping pull-up, sir.
Right. And most of those people that are good at, like, even butterfly pull-ups and stuff, like, they can rep out a bunch of strict
Oh yeah,
pull-ups and
absolutely.
stuff,
Because you
so
have to have the strength to
yeah,
do a strict pull-up in order to do a kipping or a butterfly pull-up.
definitely, yeah,
Oh,
and that's what
absolutely.
people don't realize. They
Yep.
think it's, like, cheater pull-ups, so
Oh, yeah. And like I said, like people have like that sour taste of CrossFit in their mouth. And like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because even like you can look at the athletes in CrossFit, but then what about like the just general population? Like the people like when you first got into it, where you were like, wow, this actually like saved my life because it gave me
yeah.
community, it gave me friends, and it gave me a competitive edge that I needed.
Right, exactly, like, it gave me a different purpose, and I had, like, I guess another hobby besides going out to the bar kinda thing,
Yeah, which is
so
probably good. CrossFit is probably a much better hobby than drinking.
definitely.
Yeah. So then you got into the CrossFit when you moved to Arizona. So what year was that?
That was 2013.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you really start to be like, hey, this is kind of something I want to have a career in?
So, that would it took me a little bit. I would say I was still working at the hospital. I got I wanna say this was 2017. So, I was working at the hospital. I got my, personal training certificate. I started kinda doing that in person on the side, like,
Yeah.
very, very part-time.
Hmm.
Um, and then it wasn't until I had Gianna. So I had Gianna, and I would say after that, that's when my personal goals, I was able to like take more control and really see the progress I wanted to see. But also
Yeah.
at the same time, I went back to work part time, after maternity leave, and I was like, this just, I liked my job, but it was
Yeah.
also like, I was a medical assistant, so my paycheck was basically going to the babysitter. I was like,
Right.
"I'm paying someone else to raise my kid. I wanna be with her," kinda
Mhm.
thing, and I was like, "We're just gonna do it. We're just gonna start the online thing, and we're just gonna do it." I'm like, I know, like, obviously my husband, his income is the majority of what we
Yeah.
use.
So you were in
Mine's
a
more like
good situation
fun
where
money.
he was able to support you, you know?
Yeah, I was lucky enough. For sure. Like, I was lucky enough that he was able to support us, but it was also like, I know I'm not gonna have that extra spending money, and I'm gonna be kinda broke myself for a little while.
Yeah.
Um, but that's when I joined the Legionnaire program, and I sorta started getting into that and started doing the coaching through the app there. And I would
Mhm.
say when um,
The pandemic. Uh-oh.
yeah, I know we're on the same page there. Um
Quick warning for people who aren't, but I feel like people who listen to my podcast probably understand where I'm at.
Oh, probably, yeah. So, I would say that's when everything kind of blew up for me with, the online training.
Right.
So, was then. I had, like, one girl, she's actually a local person,
Mhm.
but she got some really good results, like, right away, and she brought me, like, 60 people, like, from the community, like, right away.
I mean,
So
let me tell you, that's the beauty of like people who are trying to build an online coaching business. Just
Mhm.
get a couple of
Yeah,
people, even just one person, and
right.
pour everything that you have into that person, even help
Yes.
them for free at first. Like,
Yep.
take your ego off the table and just fucking help
Mhm.
people, and they will bring people to you. Because think about
Oh, yeah.
how often do you talk about when you have a really good experience versus like when you have a
Yeah,
shitty experience? You're going to talk about
right.
both of them, but you're going to bring people in, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It's
How
so
did you
true.
find First Form anyway? Was it when you moved to St. Louis? Because I didn't even know you lived in St. Louis for a little
No.
bit.
No, I had no idea about
No
First Form
idea.
when I lived
That's
there.
so many people. I think Jess Mills lived in St. Louis for a bit, and she's like, I didn't even know First Form was a thing
Yeah,
when I lived there.
I know, it's so funny. So I found them I had started when I got into CrossFit, I started following Hannah Jones
Yep.
now,
Yeah.
and then, one of my friends told me to follow Jenna Fail, and I
Hmm.
kept seeing both of them posting about the greens, and I was like, "Oh," I had knew nothing about supplements. I had think I took, like, BCAAs, and
Yes.
so yeah, what everyone starts with.
Yeah.
So I was like, "I'm gonna try the greens," and then I was like, "Wow, I actually, like, really like these," and they helped me a lot. So,
Hmm.
that's when I sorta started, like I just at first, I just, like, every couple months, as I had extra money, I would order
Yeah.
one thing here, one thing there, and so
That's kind of
that's
how it
how
starts, right?
Oh,
It's like
yeah, for sure.
you start with one product, and then it's like, oh, let me try this. And then you're like, shit,
Yeah.
that's really good too. And then let me try this. And then at that point, you're like, okay, how much of my paycheck can I actually put towards
Yes.
this stuff? Like, it's like a small investment sometimes, but it's definitely an investment, right? Because I'd rather
Yeah.
invest in my health than anything else.
That is a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like eventually my goal was just to like make enough commissions to cover my supplements kind of
Yep.
thing.
Yeah, I think that's
So,
where we all start, right? It's like I really
mhm.
just want to be able to pay for like my greens and my
Yep.
post workout so I can actually get
Exactly.
through each month. That's kind of actually how I found First Form too, except it wasn't Hannah and Jenna, it was Lauren Novotny or
Oh
whatever her
yeah.
last name is at the time. So I just saw her posting about these greens and she was talking about how it was helping her gut. And I was like, I have the worst gut ever.
Yeah.
So if these can help me, because I've tried at that point, like every probiotic, I was like researching like what's the best. So I would go to like the refrigerated section and get like those probiotics and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I tried the
I got
greens and I was
those.
like, whoa, these actually work and they don't taste as bad as other greens. Now, granted,
Yeah.
they are greens, so they will
Yeah.
taste like greens.
They're not amazing, but
Yeah, they're greens. Like, I don't know what people want, but they taste way better than any other greens I've had.
yes, because the other ones I tried taste like sand or dirt. Like
Yeah. I'm
they were
not looking
like
for that.
gritty.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. And they're also like brown. They're not even green.
Yes, they're not even green. Yeah, definitely.
So you found First Form, and then you're like, okay, I want to do this online coaching thing. And did that just start off with you just kind of helping people in the community first? Right.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of in-person personal training,
Yeah.
at a local gym, and then I was also coaching a couple CrossFit classes. So that was, like, kind of the people I started with. And
Yeah.
then it sort of started a Facebook group, and then that kind of, like, expanded from there, sorta.
Okay.
So,
Okay. That's
yeah,
cool. And then with the pandemic, that's kind of when you started to really get into like, okay, let me dial in on this online
yes,
stuff. I feel like that's where most people were like, okay,
for
well, I
sure.
either will do nothing and pray to God that the income comes somehow, or I can
Yeah.
kind of go online. And that's where I feel like online coaching really blew up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So how did you go from just like coaching a couple people in the app to all of a sudden, hey, I'm a First Form sponsored trainer? Like, where did that come from? Was that a goal that you had?
That was a goal I had, honestly. So when I first started doing everything, I didn't know about, like I didn't even know how to Legionnaire coach. I was like, "Oh, people can help me with this? Cool."
Yeah, same. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, once I realized that and they kinda helped me more with, like, an actual game plan, business plan, that's when I was able to get organized and, like, started to have a schedule in my group and people, like, knew what was coming. I had way more education in there.
Mhm.
And I would start, 'cause, when you coach in the app, you're making money off of commissions.
Yeah, like
So
a dollar.
right, yeah. So, at first I was like, I don't know if this is gonna do it kinda thing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so I kinda realized that I could actually make money with this kinda thing, and then they, opened up the new sponsor trainer things, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Well, that sounds cool," I wanted to be a bigger part of the company,
Yeah.
um, and so that's what I was really aiming for that, and how you kinda get that at the time was just, like, based off of getting people best results. So, I was like, "Cool. I'm not gonna worry about the number of people I have. I'm gonna really, like, invest in these people that are really committed and really want to get good results." So, I ended up, I had a good handful of people that got some really awesome results, and honestly, I don't even know which person I submitted that time that got me the sponsored trainer, but either way, it was awesome.
Yeah,
So,
you were one of, like, the first group of sponsor trainers, right?
I was like no, I think I was like the 4th or 5th group.
Yeah, but pretty
But
early because I
yeah, I
remember,
was
like,
earlier
"Oh,
early on.
who is this person?" And, like, the first time I met you was, like I think I started talking to you randomly when you started actually getting coaching from Cabin at one point, and I was like, "Hey,
Yes.
I get coaching from Cabin too."
Yes, I think that is when we started chatting a little bit, like, on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, because
So,
it's like, "Oh,
yeah.
I can relate to the pain that you're going through."
Yes, I know, I
Yeah.
know.
So, then that's really when you really started taking off with online coaching.
Yeah, yeah.
And did you from there, were you just coaching people in the first format, or did you start taking, like, people on and, like, getting paid for your coaching?
So, I was just coaching people in the First Form app, but then I was like, "This is taking up a lot of my time."
Yeah.
I was I'm always so grateful for all those people and stuff, but it was also like I need to get paid for my time kind of thing and my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I was actually going to start doing my own thing. I like had made business cards and a logo and all kinds of things, and I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So
I mean, that's kind of where we're all at, right? I feel like a
yeah,
lot of people get almost afraid to actually start something especially when
yes.
it comes to like a business, and especially when it comes to something like coaching and training, because the
Oh,
market is so saturated. There's so
it
many people
is.
out there. But I want those people to keep in mind that there's also so many people who need help.
Yeah. That's what I always have to remind myself and people that, ask about becoming an online coach or something. I'm like, yes, it's saturated, but like you just said, there's always going to be people to help. So, and we can't help everyone.
Yeah, as
So
much as we want to. Plus, certain people you just like connect with so much more. So like
definitely.
it's important also to like make sure make sure that person is actually legit and not just like a fitness influencer, because there's so many of that bullshit out there
Yeah,
too.
I know. That is so true.
So at this point you're coaching people, but what does it look like from like your personal side? Like how is life like now raising a child, but also like making sure you're working on your own fitness?
Yeah, so that was actually sort of like the breaking point for me. I'm like, I'm kind of slacking on my own personal goals. I don't really have much direction right now.
Mhm.
I had done 75 hard. I had gotten better than I was, postpartum kind of thing. I was really happy, but I still didn't really have much direction. And I knew I wanted to start like competing in CrossFit, but
Mhm.
I wasn't taking time for my goals. And also at the same time, my daughter was starting to realize, like, oh my gosh, mom's on her phone all the freaking time. Like,
Mhm.
I would just like give her the iPad so I could do some work kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was actually so I was thinking about starting my own thing just so I could have more time and get paid for my time. And
Correct.
then it was actually I saw a Hidden Summit post that Kevin was looking for a new coach, and we were at Summer Smash, and I brought it up to him. I was like, "I saw you're looking for a new coach." I was like, "What do you think about that?" And I was just kinda joking around, and he's like, "Let's hop on a call next week after Summer Smash." And
That's
I was like,
definitely
"Okay."
Kevin too, like so
Yeah.
fucking direct. Like no hints, just like all gas, no brakes.
Yeah, and so we hopped on a call and chatted about it, and I knew, like, by that point, I had thought about it a little bit, and I wanted to be a part of a team, and also,
Yeah.
like, it's so nice to have other people to lean on, bounce ideas off of, and then also you aren't responsible for every aspect of the business, like the
Yeah.
sales, the financial side, like, everything. So it sounded like a great opportunity, and we were both like, "Let's try it out." And here we are, a year and a half later.
That's literally how I got into it too, because at that
Yeah,
point, Kevin was my coach for like 2 years at that point, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, he would also help me with like business coaching too occasionally. So
yeah,
I'd be like, yeah, I really want to build this, but I feel like I want to be a part of a team, and that's when he was like, we're gonna take on coaches, and Katie and I are like,
that's
well,
awesome.
Caitlin's like one of the people who the community knows already, and she's already coaching other people, so why not kind of get you on board? I remember because I was part of the first line of coaches that went in, and I
Uh-huh.
literally almost threw up on the video group interview because I was so nervous. I remember I was like at my kitchen counter, and Stone was like on the other side of my computer, and I was like, I'm gonna like freak out right
Oh
now.
my gosh.
Like, I don't know why though. Like, I know all of these people who are on this call.
Right, right.
It was
That's
like one of those
awesome.
things that I really wanted, and really for the same reason as you, is like I wanted to be part of a team. I wanted to be able to like
Yeah,
bounce ideas off of people and not have to take the entirety of the business and do that all by
yes,
myself, because I really love coaching and educating, and that's what I wanted to do.
right, and you're amazing at it,
Oh, thank
so
you. So are you.
yes,
Like,
thanks.
by the way, for those of you who don't know, like Brooke runs the majority of our Facebook group, like the scheduling and posting, and it's like really fucking seamless. Like Facebook group
Thanks.
is not what I'm good at. So like I remember when I had my own Facebook group, I'm like, can I just get somebody else to do this for me?
Oh, yes, yeah, I know. That is true, like, that's another part of, like, online coaching that people don't
Yeah.
really think about is, like, running a Facebook group because that's a big part of the business,
Yeah,
so
because you need to
yeah.
make people like stick around and engage, because people
Mhm.
get bored really fucking fast.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you found Hidden Summit, you were like, okay, let me take this on, let me join the team. And did you come in with like a bunch of people, or were you just like kind of thrown into the mix?
Yeah, I was just kind of thrown into the mix.
What I thought.
I think I had just a couple clients switch over to paid coaching from
Yeah.
my pool of, people in the app, but it was mostly, I would say, like, I think with you, when we ran that scholarship is
Oh my
when
God.
I got, like, a big chunk of people.
I remember that day. So I had 2 rounds of that. So because I was one of the first coaches. So the first time we were like, all right, we're doing Jack by July. And I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
I was in Texas visiting Stone's family, and I was like in the car, and I just had gotten service back, and I had like 12 text messages from Cabin saying like, hey, go check like your Excel spreadsheet.
Oh my
There was like
gosh.
30 people on that spreadsheet I had to contact. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? 0 to 60. And then
Yeah,
the
you're
same
like,
thing happened
"This
with
is
the
what I wanted."
scholarship. Katie kept messaging me, and she was like, here's another, here's another. And I was like, okay, I just went from 30 to 50, like really
Yeah.
fucking fast.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy, and it's always like, "This is what we want," but
It's like one of those moments where you have to continue to remind yourself, okay, this is what I've wanted. Like, I'm
Yep,
blessed. I'm grateful for this. Like, keep
I
it coming.
know.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely challenging at first, but that's when you also have to like check yourself and be like, all right, this is what I want. Let me go all
yeah.
in on this and help the people that I promised I would help.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So, a year and a half into coaching at Hidden Summit, what are some of the things that you feel like you've learned being a part of the team and like being a part of the community?
Honestly, like, I've learned a lot about time management.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I've learned
managing
the same.
yeah, like, I would say that's the biggest thing, just, like, being more organized with my schedule and making sure everything's on there, and also, I would say, like, I think Liz is really good at this, at teaching this,
Oh
is,
yeah.
like, the time management, but also, like, work-life balance. I've
Yeah.
been, I would say, able to set a lot more boundaries for myself, and I feel like I am able to give time to Gianna that's, dedicated time, not just like, "Oh my gosh, I have 5 seconds here, like, let's
Yeah.
do something real
Like
quick," kinda
instead of
thing.
being like, here's the iPad, mom's got to work. It's like, okay, let's be together. Let's play. Let's do
Yeah,
something. Let's go on a
like,
walk.
let's actually yeah, like, let's go to the park or do a craft or something like that, like,
Yeah.
something productive.
And I think that's so important for people to hear too, because I find that so many people nowadays, and I see it all the time, are like, here's the iPad, here's the phone, and they're like not even paying attention to their kids. So like at the end of the day, like who's raising the kid, the electronic or you?
I know. It's so easy to do too,
Oh
because
yeah,
like,
I'm sure.
they'll be sucked in on there for hours,
Mhm.
so it's definitely, and I when I first had her, I'm like, "I'm never gonna be that mom that gives her the iPad," and then, the first couple years, well, when she got into the iPad, I
Right.
was like, "Here, this is so easy," and then I was like, "No, we gotta, like, get away from this," like
Yeah, like, I'm not a parent, but I could see how easy that would be, because I know,
Yeah,
like, if I'm in the middle of work and, like, my fucking dog is being annoying and I'm like, "Oh,
yes,
I could just, like, give him this and it would, like, have him shut up," then I would
yeah,
definitely do that, you know?
right,
Not comparing
definitely.
dogs to kids,
I
people,
know.
but, it's, like, a good analogy that people who aren't parents might be able to understand.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
So then back to your fitness, like, when you first got started with Hidden Summit, where were you at with, like, I know you said you wanted to start competing in CrossFit, like, how did you start? Because I know you have, at least I saw you did something with a team competition with Katie. What was that? HOA? Is that what it was?
Yeah, we ended up doing HOA, so I actually, I had done before I started working for Hidden Summit, I had done coaching with Kevin too,
Yeah.
and I got that was the December before the summer I started.
Okay.
So, started coaching with him literally in the best shape of my life, like strongest endurance-wise and physique-wise, like it was awesome. And, so I kept that going, but then and I did a competition that April by myself. It was an
Okay.
RX one. I
Nice.
did not place, but I didn't get
Competition
last.
being RX, that's pretty damn good. Like,
Yeah. You know who was there? Oh, what is her name? Alex. I can't think of her last name. Alex something with a G. She
Sam.
goes to the games now.
Sam.
She was in the competition and she
Oh
won
my
it, but
God. Fuck that. She just deadlifted like 425 pounds at the Rogue Invitational. So
yeah, so
that's
these
okay, Brooke.
girls,
You're allowed to not place in a competition
I
like
know, these
that.
girls were all cleaning like 200 pounds. I was like, "What in the fuck?" Like, this is
Oops.
crazy.
Wrong
So then
competition.
I was like, "Well, we're gonna need to do some more work if we wanna, like, actually, rank." But then that summer was the summer I dislocated my shoulder, and that's
Yeah.
kinda when everything, I don't wanna say went downhill because I've learned a lot from it,
I'm sure, but it's
but
challenging still.
it for sure is. So, I dislocated it like, I had started training for the HOA competition,
Yeah.
and I was like, "My weakness is I need to get stronger, like, my lifts need to get stronger."
Yeah.
And I was actually that day that I did it, I was doing bodybuilding stuff, and
It's always
I
that
would
stupid thing that, like, it's not like something extravagant,
no,
right?
it
Ever.
was nothing cool. I was just, like, crazy fatigued. We had done a ton of reps of everything,
Yeah.
and I was doing, like, an incline shoulder press, I think, or something, and I just lost the dumbbell. It was like a 20-pound dumbbell.
Oh my
Lost
god.
it, but my shoulder was out.
Damn.
So
That always I had a client literally who she does a lot of CrossFit, and she texted me, she's like, "I hurt my lower back. I can't even walk." And I'm like, "What did you do?" Because I know she
yeah.
had deadlifts that day. And she was like, "I slipped in the shower." I was like, "Oh, it's not even cool."
Man, that sucks.
So you dislocated the shoulder, and I know that like because we were gonna do Pensacola Breach Brawl, we were
Yes.
trying to do that, and then it was like
Uh-huh.
my shoulder just I can't. And I was like, I completely understand that.
I
Don't work on
know.
it. So like it's
So
something that it still continues to limit you now, or have you kind of found a way to make it work? Because you're still CrossFitting and I watch your
right.
workouts, Brooke. You're fucking a beast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. So, I did a bunch of rehab, but I went back too soon. I did the HOA competition and I subluxed it at the competition, and so I've done that quite a few times over the last year, and then I finally found this awesome PT. He specializes with athletes. I was back to, like, I wanna say, like, basically 100%, like, back
Yeah.
to snatching what I had been snatching. And then I dislocated it again, and that time, I think that was the time so I was at my year mark, redislocated it completely, and I think that's when I tore my labrum. So, I
Okay.
actually had a torn labrum, and I was going in for surgery when I found out I was pregnant, so
I remember that too because we were like messaging you because for those of you guys like we have a group chat. It's called Lady Mind Pump. It's me,
Yes.
Brooke, and Sam. So you've heard Dara, Sam, and Brooke. So you've heard Dara and Sam on the podcast. So we had to have Brooke
Yeah.
to finish it off. But I remember we all messaged you. We were like, "Good luck with the surgery today," and you like fasted and everything for this surgery.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I saw on your story you were like, "Well, not having surgery today," and I was like, "What happened?" And then you were just like, "Well, I'm pregnant." And I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit, okay."
Turns out we're having a baby
Yeah,
instead.
right. Instead of getting shoulder surgery, I'm having a child.
I know. So now, like, oh, I'm not gonna lie, it's been an emotional roller coaster.
I'm sure that.
Like, I'm still I'm pretty limited on things. I don't know if I'll snatch for a while, which I'm okay with. That was never
Yeah,
my favorite. So,
fuck
I can
snatch.
at least cleans are my favorite. I can still clean
Well, that's
decently
good.
heavy. So, I'll take that, and I'm just really cautious with things like, with CrossFit, it's always like go as fast as you can. So, I've just had to slow some things down a
Yeah,
little bit, but I'm still able to get out of the workouts what I need to for
mhm,
right now. So, I know eventually I'll be able to get back to where I wanna be, but this is just a little bump in the road right now.
yeah. And I know that like anybody who's ever experienced an injury or some sort of a setback, like it's fucking sucks because you go through
It
like that
does.
roller coaster of emotions where you
Oh, yeah.
almost think, like, am I ever gonna get back to normal? Or like
Yeah.
so frustrating that I can't do like these simple things that I used to be able to do. Like I know for me, when I had like an issue for a while before I really started working on core stability work, when I was popping my rib out of place and subluxing
Uh-huh.
it
Yeah.
all fucking time. And it would be
Yeah.
like, I'm good. And then I would snatch heavy and I would pop it out. And I
Yeah.
remember one time I was like, oh, we have burpees programmed. I can do burpees. And I couldn't even get down into a burpee because of how much it hurt.
My
And I was
gosh,
like,
that's
wow,
horrible.
I can't even do a burpee. Like, am I ever gonna be okay? And now
Yeah.
I'm good now. So it's
Now you're
like,
killing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying, but we're trying. It's like the
Yeah.
strength as with everyone. It's like Eric texted me the other day and he's like, Caitlin, you need to get stronger because like the girls at the top, they're snatching 165 and cleaning 200 pounds for reps. And I'm like, yeah, I know, damn it.
It's crazy, I know, and it's not even like I used to kind of be like, "Oh, it's because like, they weigh more, they have more muscle kinda thing," but some of those girls weigh the same as me.
Yeah. Now for me, it's like mass moves mass. I'm 121 pounds right
Yes,
now.
yes.
And I'm this, so I always compare myself, don't compare yourself to anyone, but as an athlete, I'll compare myself to Brooke Wells because she's my
Yeah.
age, she's my height, but she's
Mhm.
150 pounds and I'm
Right.
121. So I'm like, okay, there's a little bit of a difference there.
No, you're right. Mass definitely moves mass. So
Mhm.
I agree for sure.
Yeah. So now that the shoulders, like you're working through that injury and you're still doing what you can, which is
Yeah.
admirable. Because I know so many people who would be like, well, fuck this. I'm not even going to try because I'm so frustrated or depressed. Like, how are you able to work
Right.
those emotions?
Yeah. No, for sure. And that I do think that's where like the social media aspect comes into place and helps me because I'm like, I have, I got to show people that you can still do a lot of things with
Yeah.
some limitations. So that's kind of what I've been trying, I've like shifted my page a little bit to more like, oh, we're going to show how to deal with an injury and how to navigate pregnancy now.
Yeah, and I
So,
think that's such an important thing because so many like social media, as you know, like everybody shows like the fucking highlight reel because that's what gets
definitely.
the most attention. But
Yeah.
I'm more drawn to people like you who are like, hey, this is what I'm going through, and it's
Yes.
how it is. It sucks, but I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to show
Right.
you how to make it work.
Right. Right.
So I think
Yeah.
that's
And
so
because there's people out there that like have, like a super minor injury and they're using it as an excuse to not do anything. I'm
yeah.
like,
Oh God, I
there's
know.
always something you can do. So,
I have people who are like, oh, like my glute is a little tight, like I can't
yeah.
do anything. I'm like, hello, your upper body's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry. But like we had Derek, who's this
Yes.
is he like co-CEO of I don't know. Anyway, CEO of Hidden Summit, like with
Yeah.
Cat. Derek tore his Achilles tendon and the
Yeah.
next day he's in the fucking gym doing pull-ups. I'm like, well, yeah, your upper body's gonna get jacked now. That's what I said to him. And he's like, hell yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like had a speech at Hidden Summit conference retreat where he was like, yeah, like that night I was like in the shower crying because I was so upset
Yeah.
about the situation. And I'm like, yeah, everybody goes through that. But
Yeah.
he's able to be like, okay, I had my moment. Now we move on.
Now we
Most
move
people
on.
stay
Yeah.
stuck in that moment.
Definitely. Yeah.
So now that you have the shoulder, you're working on it, you're working through it. What's next? Do you have like anything that you're working towards as far as personal goals? I know that you're really focused a lot on like hormone health, functional stuff as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, so I guess career-wise, I'm doing that course that you and Justin did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning a lot about like I would say it's a way more in-depth course on hormones and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
definitely like
that's
really interesting stuff on like
y-
functional nutrition and how you can actually
yeah,
apply that to help people who are like a lot of people hurt with their hormones and they don't even realize that kind of thing.
right, exactly. So that's been super interesting and I'm, obviously I really want to bring that to some of my clients and be able to help them
Oh yeah.
more. Yeah, so career-wise, I just wanna be able to help the people I have right now in, at in a more in-depth way because a lot of people have been with me for, like, a year now, and it's like, we got the macros down, we got the exercise down, so what else can we optimize here kinda
Mm.
thing. I know you're the same way.
Oh yeah.
So,
It's like so many people think like, oh, well, if I hit my macros, that's cool. And we were talking about this the other day. It's like
yeah.
if they see your macros, that's great. Like if you get your protein and your calories, fucking great. But are we eating Pop Tarts and protein shakes all day?
Yes,
Or are we eating like whole food meals? Because and
right.
Liz actually posted about this the other day. Like if you're somebody
Yeah,
who's taking like 3 protein shakes a day just to hit your protein goal, then we need to have a conversation.
for real, yes.
I don't know about you, but I get a lot of clients who are like, I'm hungry, give me more food. And then I look at their food and I'm like, you're eating four, like a protein bar and 3 protein shakes a day. Why don't you eat some real food? Then come back to me.
I know, you're like, I'd be hungry too, so
Yeah, right. Like a protein shake. I'm sorry, but yes, I know it's protein satiating, but like I drink a protein shake and I'm like, okay,
and
where's
then I'm
my
like,
food?
what else are we eating? Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'll have this sleeve of cookies, right?
Yes.
So what
Yeah.
about yourself personally? Like, are you working on any specific fitness goals? I know that you're pregnant right now, but like, do you have anything
Yeah.
on the horizon that you want to do or any aspirations?
So I'm kind of taking this time to do like, I saw someone on Instagram say pregnancy bulk. I'm like, cool, we'll put this like extra weight and stuff to good use. And
Yeah,
I'm still
of
gonna try
course.
to get strong. Like I want to try to get my squat up a little bit. And then um I would say my other goal right now is just really focusing on keeping up with like my core
Mm,
strength so my
yeah.
recovery is better and also kind of rehabbing my shoulder right now. I'm like, you know, I was definitely down in the dumps about it, but I'm like, what can I do over the 9 months to still, like, move me in the right direction?
Mhm.
So, and then after I have the baby, we're hitting it hard again. So,
Yeah. Like, let me get through this first, and then we'll
yes,
focus on other things. Yeah, and I like that because I think it's so important to think about, okay, I can't do this, and so many people remain there. They're like, I can't, I can't, I can't. Cool, well, what
yes,
can you do? Because you can
right.
always do something.
Exactly, yeah, and that's the thing, there is, like, kinda like Derek's speech, you do go through those,
Yeah.
like, the emotions of
Stages
grief.
of grief and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like real, like 100%.
it is, and, I was feeling sorry for myself, and I'm like, "No, you can still do there's still so many things you can do right now," like, and, maybe not at exactly the intensity or weight I want to be doing, but I can
Right.
still do a lot of things,
Oh, yeah,
so, yeah,
definitely, and I'm proud of you for being able to do that because, again, I know that
thank you.
you go through that grieving process, especially with, like, coaching, momming, and then
Yes,
having a kid inside you, and then also being like, "Oh, I have to do, like, things around the house," and, like, I'm a wife too, so I can't be
yeah.
like a man, right? And I know that is Brian, is he away quite often or just now because it's hunting season?
Well, yeah, he's he's away a lot of times for hunting. I mean, he works 10-hour days, and
Yeah,
then, when he's on call, he could be out for the whole time he's on call.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and we don't have any family here, so
mhm,
it's that definitely makes it hard. So, I'm
yep.
looking forward to eventually moving closer to family. So,
Yeah, I think very, very deserved type
yeah.
thing. Get some help. But again, another thing I want to highlight is like the fact that you are a mom and
Mhm.
your husband's not home a lot of the times and you're still crushing it with your fitness, with your nutrition, and you're not making an excuse. Like you I have clients actually who come to me and it's like, I'm terrible at posting food and posting recipes because like I fucking eat the
Oh,
same food every single day. And like I
yeah,
eat a lot of food and a lot of people are like, oh my God, you eat so much carbs. There's a lot of carbs in that meal. And I'm like, I don't need that negativity in my life. Shut the fuck
right.
up. So I have clients who are actually like, I love following Brooke because she always posts like all these meals and all these tips and stuff. So like
Oh, cool.
you're crushing it with your nutrition.
Thank
So
you.
I think that's important to highlight with being a mom and stuff. People like just accept like, oh, I'm a mom. I need to like feed my kids first. Fuck me, you know?
Yeah, right, or I'm just gonna eat the leftovers off
Yeah.
my kid's plate kinda
And
thing.
then of
Yeah,
course, like the goldfish that you take out of your kid's plate doesn't count on your macros.
doesn't count. We don't track that.
Don't track that. And then all of a sudden we complain about why we don't see results. And it's like, because you're
Yeah,
eating like 300 calories that you're not accounting for.
that you're not accounting for, yes, exactly.
Great. Well, I think this is such a great conversation. I'm really excited that we were
Yeah,
finally able to have this. It took like a while for us to get this
I
together
know,
because of
our
holidays.
schedule.
Our schedules like kept aligning, and then it was like, fuck, I messed this up. And I did that with, I've been doing that. I have another client who's coming on here to talk about parenting and getting
Oh,
her
cool.
fitness goals. And every single week, it's like, fuck, I forgot I have this. And then another thing comes up. And then next week, I
It's
scheduled her for
hard.
Friday. And I was like, perfect. I have nothing going on at that time. And then I was like, fuck, Friday's our 1 year wedding anniversary. I'm new to
Oh,
this.
no.
I was like, hey, I have to move one more time. So we'll get that together and that'll be a good episode too. But
That's cool,
thank
yeah.
you for sharing your entire story. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks
Is
for
there,
having me on, I'm excited.
yeah, hell yeah. Is there anything else that you want to say, like to anybody who might be, we'll focus on that, like struggling with an injury or struggling with like having these hurdles in their life that you would say?
Yeah, I would say, like, there's definitely it can you there's a lot of mental blocks that come with it, but kinda like we talked about, just focusing on the positives and the things that you can do right now, and also knowing that, like, it's a temporary phase, like,
Yeah.
like with pregnancy, it's temporary. It's just a
Yeah.
stage, a phase, and, like, you'll eventually be able to get back to your normal self, so
Yep. And I think that's so important. It's like temporary things, they shouldn't make you make a permanent decision, you know?
exactly, yeah, I love that.
Good deal. Awesome. Well, I will let you go and thank you
Right,
for being on.
thank you.